Um, Hello, I'm responding to your video. I got your video and a link from a friend, and I'm just gonna go over some points I found. First of all, I want to state that when a skeptic asks for proof outside the Bible, we wanna we want something that will undoubtedly verify from a source that knew Jesus directly or could have saw one of his miracles directly. Um, that's all I really want is just one source around the time he lived that could have even um, saw one of his miracles, saw him crucified, just saw him preaching or something. It doesn't really matter. That's I mean first of all, well, second of all, actually, sorry about that. I can assume that there was a flesh and blood man named Jesus Christ, but that's all I will assume. I've been burned a lot of times being assuming things, and yes, I do realize the irony of what I just said. Um, Getting right into it, at 35 seconds into it, you put a verse from Justin Martyr. Um, First of all, it's not really proof outside the Bible. Justin Martyr, also Justin the Martyr, Justin of Sarah says area. I can't, or Justin the philosopher. He was born 100. He lived 100 to 165, which means he was born what 67 years after Jesus died. So he would not have known Jesus after um, Jesus before he died. He would have known the stories. He would have known the biblical prophecies. And then from a source, I found that somebody talking about Justin Martyr that he came assuming. Hey, shit. Sorry, but okay. The where you put the quote from. The fragments of the work on the resurrection began with the assertion that the truth and God, the author of truth, need no witness, but that is a concession to the weakness of men. It is necessary to give arguments to convince those who gainsay it. So I pretty much he's inserting the that that the Bible is already inherently true, which I'm not, and I'm looking for evidence that will undoubtedly say otherwise. Um, he talked about the taxation stuff. I have a website that talks about contradiction, that the whole taxation thing contradiction it made. I'll send it to somebody if they want it. Just send me a PM or I'll put it on there later. Then at 1 minute mark, she talks about Tacitus or Tacitus, whatever. Um, he was born 56 to 117. You're getting closer to the time Jesus was around, but still, afterwards um, he would have known the stories and the myths and the New Testament's parts of them that have been written already. I found the entire quote. I mean, I'm glad you paraphrased it. It's rather very long. Um, Next, I found this. You put a couple quotes from um, the Jews. The Sabbath 104b translated the part that you were talking about. R. Shimon ben Azah said, I found a book of genealogies in Jerusalem, and in it is written, the man Plony is a bastard. Okay, I found from a website. I'll send somebody the link if they want to. If they want to look at it themselves. This is a claim to be Jesus. However, the claim is patiently ridiculous. The Mishnah was most likely referring to a famous person, and due to lack of any practical ramifications, his name was left out by the compilers of the Mishnah. Plony is a biblical term used similar to John Doe of today. And then I won't read the rest of that. I want to keep this as short as I can. Then Sanhedrin 106a R. Yokana said regarding Balaam, in the beginning a prophet, in the end a sorcerer. Rav Papa said, as people say, she was the descendant of princes and rulers. She played harlot with the carpenters. I found a really. This guy said that, again, it was impossible. He gave some pretty interesting arguments why it's not. And then he said, beside the fact, read the passage closely, and you will see that Papa is offering a parable that explains our Yochanan statement. It is impossible to read our Yochanan statement as referring to Jesus and Rav Papa's as referring to Jesus' mother. Yeah. And then going down, skips some stuff because I mumble and stutter and all that shit a little bit. You talk about the Jewish Encyclopedia. Goes along with the last section. Besides 1907, that's not really a source outside the Bible if it's, over 1,000 years past, or 100. Sorry, I have not done that math. I don't really feel like doing it in my head right now. And then you list the Encyclopedia Britannica in 1981, which also doesn't count because of how long it is after. And it's and I've read the Encyclopedia Britannica article, and it's talking about the biblical Jesus, the Christian religion Jesus. It doesn't talk about him as a man, but the biblical Jesus simply at that. At 2 minutes 45 seconds, you state other facts outside the Bible that would be a very good proof for you. But I asked you twice for your sources, and I'm still kind of waiting for them. I was not able to research them because I do not have your sources, and I have not found anything early enough that has said anything like that. So I can't take that claim as proof. Then at 3 minutes 15 seconds, you go back to the Encyclopedia Britannica. At 3 minutes 35 seconds, you state a question about why would they die for a lie. And I believe Cobain, in his Christian account, Cobain the Christian answers it nicely that that what you said, they'd be happy to die if they believed in it. And I can just compare it to Islam and Buddhism and all the other religions. They were all happy to die for their religions, their prophets, and all that stuff. At 4 minutes, you start with conversion stories, and outside this even listing. Yeah, you stated about C.S. Lewis. Though I found this quote. He said, though a self-proclaimed atheist at the time, Lewis later described his young self in Surprised by Joy, book, as being paradoxically very angry with God for not existing. And then later he went back to Christianity because of another Christian author, George MacDonald. They found him, and then they kind of bounced off. C.S. Lewis kind of bounced off George MacDonald and went back into Christianity, but he stopped being Christian because he felt a lack of God's presence, and therefore he became angry and that stuff, and very stereotypical atheist, what people have a view of atheism. He was, like I have here, he was turned to atheism less by facts and more by his feeling of desertion. At 4 minutes 30 seconds, you make a logical fallacy in quoting this man because of appeal to authority and his own personal views, which are a lot of religions have had stories that he could have spoken about. I don't really know what you're talking about in the top of my head. I'd have to go back and watch it. At about 4 minutes 50 seconds, you start with statistics, and those are based on the same assumption that it really happened just like in the Bible and nothing has been changed, which I can state Bart Ehrman's lecture, Misquoting Jesus for Bible's Truth. They kind of prove that the stuff has been changed. There has been stuff that's that has, well, like I said before, changed a lot, and you can't say like